Let's talk about intercom adapters, wiring them, how to make your own, how to identify what you need when you're first starting out or have questions about new intercom systems, some of the tools, parts, cabling, and other techniques that I use to making adapters, and hopefully shed a bit of information into the mystery that is adapters, that there's a lot of misinformation out in the world. Hoping you can share some knowledge or help someone else out in need, because this stuff comes up always the last minute before an event, and it can lead to a very high level of stress and issues with the fun part of what rallying is. So like I said, over a few videos, just because of the length, I'll get into specific adapters and what techniques I use and what wiring schematics and diagrams for various, but I'll start off with talking about helmets, intercoms, and what to look for when you're purchasing a helmet and what to avoid or be cautious of, because there are some pitfalls that people have fallen into and purchased a helmet that doesn't work with an intercom and there's no adapter to make it work. So let's get into it. Helmets, more helmets. What to look for, what to stay away from, or just be aware of when you're buying a helmet. There's a few pitfalls out there. I'm gonna go through a few of them here. I'm just browsing on Demon Tweaks. It's in US dollars, no affiliation whatsoever. Just to point out a few items. Pretty popular helmet on the market is the Stilo helmets, but there's a big price difference, and some of that is in regards to what type of intercom is in the helmet. So Stilo has two different helmet kind of levels. There's the WRC helmet, and then if you take a look, you'll also find the trophy helmet. Don't be deceived by the DES, doesn't really mean much in this context, but the trophy helmets are a different type of intercom system than the WRC helmets. Now it's pretty tough to see on some of the photos of different types of helmets you buy, but pay attention to the cable that you see sticking out of the helmet. It'll give you a little bit of an indication and a place to start with what type of intercom is built into the helmet. So speaking of the Stilo, I'll show you one of the big pitfalls that I get a lot of messages, not phone calls, but messages, emails, questions, queries, and some people that are pretty devastated with finding out what they think is a good deal on a helmet, paying for shipping, getting it, and then like a week before the rally, they find out my helmet doesn't work with the intercom that I'm going to be using in a car. So example, so the Trophy DES helmet. So this is right off the Stilo website. Looks like it's probably the American.com website. And this one actually has some text that you can find, but not all of them have this. That gives you the bad news. The Stilo Trophy intercom will not work with the DES system. So what do those intercoms look like? They look very similar to each other, but there's some important things to pay attention to. This is the Trophy intercom. It's got a 1/4 inch stereo connector. It is very similar to the Terraphone type of intercom for wiring, but the male and female connectors are different because, let's face it, all these manufacturers are a bunch of crooks, and I don't know why they can't agree on a common connector. But the body of these intercoms look the same, but they're completely not. You'll notice these WRC intercoms have a Nexus style plug. It's bigger in diameter and shorter. And the more expensive DG is also a WRC compatible intercom, but considerably more money. So just be cautious of that. If you buy a Trophy helmet, it will only work with a Trophy intercom. You can make an adapter for it to work with a Terraphone intercom, but that is it. You cannot use a Trophy helmet with a Peltor or a Stilo WRC intercom. The other way does work. So if you were to buy a WRC Stilo helmet or a Peltor compatible helmet, similar to what looks like this Sparco, these helmets, just by looking at the plugs, I'm pretty confident these are a Peltor compatible helmet. These helmets and a WRC helmet will work with either a WRC amplifier, a Peltor amplifier, or a Stilo Trophy, or the TerraTrip. This is the Pro, this already has it, but the older TerraTrips are just a 1/4 inch stereo connection. So if you're going to be moving between cars, or you're not sure what to get when you first start out, there's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't skimp on a helmet. I won't get into them here, but intercom is one of the most important things to pay attention to if you don't plan on ripping it out or going with that system in your vehicle, which is fine too. If you, a car owner and you want to run the Trophy helmet, hey, have fun. Just be aware that it may put some limitations on people that get in the car with you. So that's helmets, lots of different brands. Pay attention to the cable that you see in the images for the helmet. Read the fine print, read the text, find out what intercom or compatible intercom it is. Next up, we will talk about the different intercoms on the market that you can purchase. Kind of touched on it. The WRC Stilo, the TerraTrip, some of these are the Peltor compatible, or Sparco is more prevalent now, as you can see. But again, these things change so much. I can't say to you definitively that this Sparco IS140 is or isn't a Peltor intercom. Chances are it is, but I don't know. Your mileage may vary, just be cautious. I have no experience with these zero noise intercoms. Rugged Radios make some, I don't know what those things run. So buyer beware with those. I've heard some people say the Rugged Radios were really good. It's kind of whatever flavor you want to use. The kind of the benchmark standard now is a Stilo, either the DG, which is a bit spendier, but mostly it's the WRC amplifier. And then you've also got the typical Peltor intercom you see on the market quite a bit. This is the TerraTrip Clubman. This is the type that is only compatible with a TerraTrip helmet. And yeah, this is what the older TerraTrips look like. And you can see this one is compatible with, it looks like it's compatible with Peltor. So we'll get into some adapters and what works with what, and I'll show you how to make the adapters. All right, parts needed to make your own adapters. So the Terraphone and the Trophy helmets use 1/4 inch stereo adapter, either male or female. Pretty easy to find, pretty much anywhere. Super cheap, really easy to wire, pretty common. The more difficult parts to find, and the price ramps up pretty quickly, is the Nexus connectors. So this is the male connector for the Stilo helmet adapter, and this is also the same connector. It's on a Peltor or Sparco, like a Peltor compatible helmet. Uses these Nexus connectors. So it's a 4-conductor, it's a bigger diameter. You'll sometimes hear people refer to these as mil spec. There is a specific one that is military spec, and there are others that are absolutely not. These are the ones that I use. They are the TP101. So it's a P as in plug. There's also TJ, which is the female version of this. And it's very important to notice the difference in the strain relief and the pinout. So we'll show you the wire diagram of it. But this strain relief is physically connected, braze connected onto the body of this material. And this hole is one of the, it's pin 1, it's the tip of these connectors. It's important to know this because this, if you were even to break the strain relief, you are not going to break connectivity with the plug. Unlike the cheaper version that you will find on most of the commercial and specifically the Stilo branded adapters, use this connector, which is crap. You'll notice the strain relief is directly connected to one of the terminal pins. And the #1 failure point of the commercial Stilo adapter is that they've overmolded this with a flexible rubber, and it'll break at this strain relief and the intercom will stop working. Complete crap. If they would have used a better plug than the TP120, it probably would be the go-to intercom adapter. And I was recommending those adapters, and I used one for a couple seasons until I had the issue where I broke one at a rally. Thankfully, I had some that I made myself, but it's terrible. Now, I want you to take a look at the price. So I've been selling adapters to people for quite a while. I don't make any money on them, and frankly, I want to make it so anyone can make their own, share this knowledge with the rally group. I've been making them to, so people can go rallying and not have to worry about intercoms. But take a look at this plug. This is $32 per plug. Now, I have ordered them in bulk from Nexus, and you get a bit of a break, but not much. Now, if you're making an adapter, you need two of these to do a Peltor and Stilo helmet adapter. And right there, you're at $64 plus the shipping. And I've been making and selling these for like $85. Once you put the rest of the cabling and such in, I don't make any money whatsoever. That's fine. I do it because I know people need intercom adapters and the other ones in the market are crap. So I'll show you how I make them, and I'll show you what you can do to make yours super strong. If you've got the wherewithal to make your own. You will also, if you are going to be building adapters for, like you need the female version, like I said, it's a TJ101. These are the ones I've been using. I'll show you the insides of that adapter. So yeah. So here is a Stilo intercom adapter. This is the overmolding part. This is the one that I broke, and I decided to see what was going on inside, so I took it apart. And this wasn't me just yarding it off. I carefully cut this apart, and it fell apart in my hands. It just pulled wires right out of the connectors. As you can see, the center pin here for the tip and the string relief sheared straight off. So crap design. And Stilo, if you are watching or see this, fix it, because this is terrible. This is the difference between a successful rally or one that goes downhill in a hurry. And all it would take is using a better connector. Instead of the 120, use the 101. So there's some pinouts on the web that you can find for different intercoms that work with different radios. This is one that was on Rugged Radios, so kudos for them for sharing this information. This is pretty, I'm not even sure if this is still on their current website, but Wayback Machine is your friend. So there's a lot of different intercom systems out there, not specifically Rally, but you'll see there's IMSA wiring, the pinouts here, and there's a NASCAR type intercom. So this is the Stilo. This is the same pinout that we have for Stilo Rally helmets and the Peltor. So take a look around. You may be able to get lucky and find the pinout of your connector for your specific helmet and make an adapter. All right, hands-on helmets, adapters, intercoms, that sort of thing. On the left is my WRC Stilo helmet and my older Peltor. I don't have a trophy helmet or a Terraphone TerraTrip helmet, but we'll go through those cable connectors and what's with what. So the WRC Stilo helmet is a female adapter in the helmet, so the intercom will plug directly into the helmet with a Nexus plug. The Peltor style is a male Nexus plug. Now this will physically fit into the this helmet. The wiring is completely different, and obviously that wouldn't work because there's no intercom in the way, but you'll see this Peltor intercom as the female Nexus connector, which would plug in to the intercom. Now you can use this helmet with a Peltor intercom, with a Peltor helmet or another Stilo WRC helmet with an adapter. So I'll show you how to make these adapters, but it is male and male, but the pinout wiring is different. We'll get into that. Really hate how these manufacturers have decided that they're going to use different pinouts, not just different connectors. It pisses me off. That's where we're at. I'll show you how to get around it, how to make your own, and some pitfalls with some of the commercial ones that are on the market. But in this application, you would plug in your Peltor helmet here, the other connector, wherever it is, you would plug in your Peltor side because it is specific about the pinout, and then you would plug the Stilo one into your helmet and you're good to go. In the wiring, there's some impedance matching and such. Like I said, we'll get into. The other one is, this is a Terraphone kind of equivalent. This is an older Graytronics. It's actually a really good intercom. But it's a Terraphone type intercom, and it is the 1/4 inch. This is the female 1/4 inch stereo connector. And obviously a Peltor intercom won't plug into it. It's the wrong connector, wrong size, etc. But you can make an adapter. So I'll show you the wiring for this and how to make it. This has a female Nexus plug with a stereo 1/4 inch, and inside there are electronics. It's an op-amp circuit, super simple to make, and parts are cheap. I just found a way of making these small and compact, and I fill these things with epoxy. Again, I'll show you how to do this, and you can make your own. You'd be able to use a Peltor helmet or a Stilo helmet, just a different adapter. You'd need the male plug, of course, on this. Circuit would be the same, pinout is different. I'll show you those wiring diagrams. The other adapter that come in handy, this is the female Nexus, and this connector allows you to use a Peltor helmet with a Stilo intercom. Again, I'll show you the pinout for this, easy to make. It just comes down to getting the connectors, and if you're able to solder and do a bit of wiring work, you can make your own adapters. Wiring diagrams. So these are all helmet connectors. So Peltor helmet with a TP101 plug. This is the pinout, tip, ring 1, ring 2 base, speaker and microphone. And this is the Stilo. So this was molded into the helmet. 16 ohm speaker. You'll notice the difference with the Peltor. We'll get into the wiring of that in a bit. Here is the pinout for that. Now this 47 ohm resistor is required when you're making a Peltor intercom to a Stilo helmet, and that matches the impedance for the helmet. The Terraphone type of helmet, this is a 1/4 inch stereo plug, tip, ring, and then the base is also the common negative for the microphone and the speaker. And this is the circuit that I have built into the Peltor intercom, Peltor helmet to Terraphone intercom adapter. So we'll get into this circuit and how I put this together to fit it in a small space. And this is the op amp that I use, an NTE 123 AP, and the pinout of that. So take a screenshot of this, and this will be the Bible. There is also the diagram, which I'll put up on the screen, for the trophy helmet. The connector on that one, I am not 100% certain because I've never had it in my hand, but I've made a couple of adapters, and to my knowledge, they work just fine. So your mileage may vary with those, but I'll put a picture of that pinout on the screen. The wiring of this circuit can be used for that as well. So that's it for this video, but the one last thing I wanted to talk about before I get into the next ones is what I think everyone should have in their rally car or their bag on a rally is picking up one of these emergency kits. So Stilo has a really nice one. It comes in a nice little package, and inside it is a full kind of emergency kit that has some earpieces, it's got a microphone and a connector, so you can, you know, set this up in your helmet. Here's a microphone here. You can set this up in your helmet, and you know, this would stop you from having a really terrible day. They're not super cheap, but you know, I could make my own, but for the cost and the quality of what I've seen of this is great. So I recommend picking one of these up. I've never had to use it, knock on wood, but I think it's a good thing to have in your bag.